Coming up next is Dr. Kimberly Taylor. Here's your chance to talk about what matters to you. Although you will receive helpful advice from Dr. Taylor, remember, this is not to be construed as a form of psychotherapy, diagnosis, or treatment, and cannot replace a therapeutic relationship with a mental health professional. You can reach Dr. Taylor by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. You can also listen live on the internet at drkimtaylorshow.com. So here now is Dr. Kimberly Taylor.
Welcome to the program. The buzzword these days seems to be assertiveness. How can you be assertive without being aggressive? Or is being assertive another way people hide behind the act of intimidation or bullying someone else in order to get their own way? So what is healthy assertiveness? Well, assertiveness is the ability to state your rights or needs without violating the rights of others. Assertiveness is a way of asking for what you need without demanding and being disrespectful to others. Being aggressive, on the other hand, is acting in your own best interest without regard for the rights, needs, feelings, or desires of others. It's attempting to manipulate and control others. If your style is aggressive, you may appear to be self-righteous or superior, and others will resent you or even try to avoid you. There are many situations in our lives where we need to be able to assert ourselves and let others know what's okay and what's not okay. And the more open and direct we can be in asking for what we need, the more we will be able to take responsibility for our behavior and gain the respect from others. It will also help us to feel more confident about ourselves. So, what keeps us from acting assertively? Well, there are actually a number of factors. Let's see what you can check off the list. First, it's fear of rejection from others. Fear that others will be hurt and angry. Fear of appearing to be selfish. Believing that other people's needs, opinions, and judgments are more important than your own. Or not wanting to appear to be demanding or petty. Not wanting to appear to be aggressive. And not believing you have the right to say no. These are some of the self-limiting beliefs that you must challenge in order to take responsibility in meeting your own needs, improving your skills in communication, gaining self-confidence, and creating honest relationships. So in order to be assertive, you need to first identify what you need, and then set your limits. Know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Be specific and direct. Learn to say no without apologizing. And last, be respectful. Assertiveness means using I statements along with words that describe what you want. So it's going to sound something like this. I want, I need, I do not like that, or I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. The more you practice in these assertiveness skills, the more you're going to be able to confront your old ways of thinking. And you will become more naturally assertive as you gain the confidence in your own ability to take care of yourself and stand up for what you need. It's not going to happen overnight. It will take practice, but stick to it, and you will become more confident in speaking up and more secure in your abilities to handle difficult situations. So how are you needing to assert yourself in your own life? Let's talk about what matters to you. This is your place, and I'm here for the next hour, ready to take your call. So get on the phone. You can reach me by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
So I'm here with Judy Bruton. I have invited her onto the show because she's heading up a new program at Antioch, a university here in Santa Barbara. And the program is on women in leadership, which is, it sounds like, going to be launching in January, so that's just a couple months away. Judy is a special assistant to the president at Antioch, and she has practiced law for 20 years. She's also a psychotherapist and mediator. She has several degrees. So she brings a lot to this and a lot of experience as far as in trying to lead. And also, as I'm thinking about this, I was thinking that we're talking about assertiveness. And how does assertiveness affect a woman's position in work? And is that a quality and trait that is helpful for her to become a leader in her field?
I think that's an excellent question. I think that the reality is that in order to be an effective leader, you have to be assertive. I was listening to your intro, and I thought that what you said was right on the money, that really assertiveness is an ability to use your voice, and that in order to be an effective leader, you have to be able to speak. You have to be able to communicate your vision. You have to be able to motivate a team. You have to be able to make certain that you understand how you affect other people. And you have to be able to be heard and affect change, really.
Right. And I think that there is a huge difference between being assertive and being aggressive. And I think that people get those two confused. And I think that even more so when women come across as being assertive, they can often be seen as being very aggressive.
Yes, but I also think that there's a lot of sexual stereotyping that goes into the sort of gender roles that we've grown up with, the values that we seem to put on women versus men, what we look for in a woman leader versus a male leader. I was thinking just the other day about how, and some of your listeners may remember this, others may not know what I'm talking about, but many years ago when Bill Clinton was president, and Hillary Clinton was interviewed on 60 Minutes. And I don't even remember. I need to go back and find that clip to really remember what she was asked, where she ended up saying to the interviewer that she wasn't going to see herself as a first lady who would just sit in the White House and bake cookies, or whatever the context was, but instead she saw herself as someone who had real leadership skills and an ability in her own right to affect change. Well, at that time, it was heard in such a way that there was quite an uproar, and people were very concerned, offended by her statement and by her view of the role that a first lady could play in a White House. And here we are today, a few years later, looking at her as at least a potential she's been a candidate already, and potential president one day.
Right. So in this program that you're putting on here at Antioch, what actually prompted you to develop this kind of a program for women?
Well, first of all, I want to let you know that it's not something that I did in terms of developing the program initially. The idea for the program really stemmed from a collaboration between our president, Nancy Leffert, and our Board of Trustees, Susan Rose, who's been a leader in this community and across the state of California in the political venue, as well as our chairman of the board, or chairwoman of the board, Vicki Riskin, and they had the idea initially for the program. They were quickly joined by other trustees, Patricia Chavez Nunez and Marcia Cohen, along with Catherine Downing, who's been a great friend to Antioch, and they really developed the idea. They came to me and asked me to help design the program.
Okay. And why now? What is it about now that you're bringing this issue up and starting to develop a program?
Well, I when they first approached me, I really did have to step back and ask, why now? Why is this program needed? And it wasn't until I really stopped and did the research, and this was a little while ago. It was before Sheryl Sandberg's book, which I think brought a lot of questions into the media's attention. But the reality that struck me when I did some research, that it's been close to 40, maybe even for some 50 years, since women and men have really had parity in terms of access to higher education and professional education. Whether you're talking about equal numbers in med school or law school or MBA programs, across the board pretty much. But yet when you stop and look at who holds leadership positions at the highest level today in 2013, the numbers aren't equal. There seems to be a division, a gap across the board, whether we're looking in business, whether we're looking in law, whether we're looking in medicine, whether we're looking in education or nonprofit leadership. And the numbers are pretty staggering. It seems that 80% of the leadership roles are held by men, and only 20 are held by women. And so, I found that to be a fascinating difference. And I began to explore the question that sort of fell out of that naturally. Why is that difference there? And does it matter?
Right.
And if the answer is it matters, then we need to take it a step further and say, okay, what can we do to maybe change it going forward?
Okay. So who do you see as those who would be a candidate for this kind of a program?
Well, that's actually something that we spent a lot of time talking about and thinking about. Antioch's mission is really all about giving back to the community. So we felt very strongly that instead of wanting it to be a program that, for example, just went out and pulled people from the corporate world and trained them to be tomorrow's leaders, or just went out into the nonprofit world and pulled that group, we thought that it made a lot more sense to intentionally build a class that comes from all those different venues. So we want women who want to be leaders in any of those areas, whether we're talking about corporate, nonprofit, political, public sector venues, to come together and learn as one community so that we can strengthen our entire community together.
Okay. And what are going to be some of the things that they're going to learn as far as core courses in this program?
The whole question of gender and leadership is a core course in the program. Those very questions that fell out of the observation of today's reality. What is the impact of gender on leadership? How do people look at women leaders and men leaders? Do they look at them the same? Do they, in fact, look at them differently? If so, why? What does it mean? Do we want to try to change that, or is there something valuable to it? There's research that's been done that, in fact, says that women and men are different in many ways.
And so that they will lead in a different way
And so
also.
they will lead in a different way. And so to the extent that that's true, making certain that we don't lose the qualities that make us good leaders. And this ties beautifully, I think, to the other main course in the program, which is values-based leadership through a gender lens. There's a theory of leadership that's called values-based leadership that is studied, and as you learn that theory, what you learn is values-based leadership really requires the leader to understand him or herself, their own value system, and then bring that to bear on their leadership journey.
Okay. All right. So they're going to learn part of the history. They're going to learn the research. Then there is a theory behind all of this. So as someone comes out of this program, what will they expect to have?
Well, we're also a very experiential program. So one of
very
school.
hands-on, right?
Very hands-on. And this program is no different. And so one of the things that's very special about this program is first of all, it's a 10-month-long program. And part of the reason we made it that long is in order to have a project component. So the third class that all the students will be involved in is, in fact, an experiential leadership project. And everyone's going to be involved in a project during those 10 months where they'll have an opportunity to apply what they're learning, get feedback, and apply it again. When they come into the program, we're going to do assessments. And the assessments will help them understand where their individual leadership skills are and also the impact that they have on other people.
Okay, and I actually think that's a really good point. I think we've talked about this, that I think people need to know what the impact is that they have when they walk into a room. That I think one of the greatest things that you could do for them is to really start out and have whether it's cards or something that when they walk in the door that have other people kind of make a list of what the impact is and how they really perceive or take this person in, because that's going to be really important to be a leader, is to know what is the general feel that people get as you walk in the room.
Absolutely. And these assessments are going to help inform not only their individual learning goals through the 10 months, they'll also inform the project that they do. Every student will have a mentor to work with on the project as well as a faculty member.
So is this going to be in the corporate world, the nonprofit world, the public sector, and any kind of political venue also?
That's right,
Okay.
whatever their area of interest is. The program, let me just kind of give you an overview of the program because I don't think I have. It's what we call a hybrid program. So it's a combination of face-to-face learning as well as online. So the program starts in January, actually over the weekend of January the 10th and the 11th. And it will be our first, what we call residency. Now, no one's sleeping over. They don't have to bring their jammies or anything. But it's a residency because it's 2.5 very intense days of learning together. Very, again, experiential. We're going to have fabulous guest speakers and the classes and an opportunity for people really to get to know one another. And then we send them off for 5 months. And during those 5 months, they will be working online together with our faculty in our virtual learning environment. So they'll have online classes in those 3 courses that I told you about for 5 months. But the great thing about our program, because we want it to be easy for busy people to participate in this program, so the great thing is that all of our classes are what we call asynchronous, which means they don't have to be online at a given time altogether. They're going to be able to participate as they can in the program. And then they'll come back together again in May, and that middle residency that we're going to do in May is really very workshop-based. It's going to be a workshop that will focus on developing the leadership skills that we've learned that these people really need to be working on. And then the last residency, which will be next October of 2014, will be an opportunity for all of our students to present their project that they've worked on over the 10 months and also to work on an individual leadership plan going forward.
Okay. So this is going to be the first class, the launch of it, correct?
It is. It's the
Okay.
launch. We're really excited. I want to let everybody know that we're still accepting applications. The deadline for applications is December 2nd, so it's around the corner. But the deadline for applications for scholarship is really right around the corner. It's next Wednesday, November 20th. So this wonderful group of women that really felt invested in the program from the outset went out and raised money for scholarships for this program. So we do have money available. So if you out there listening feel like this is something that would work for you, that you would want to do, I encourage you to go online. Our website is www.antioch.
Spell it.
ANTIOCH SB.edu. So it's AntiochSB.edu. Click on the box that says Women in Leadership Program. There's an easy application on there. It won't take you very long to fill it out. There's a place where you can mark scholarship needed and apply. It's a quick process, and we'd love to talk to you more if you have any questions.
Okay, and is there one person or point of contact that they can make if they have more questions before they sign up?
They could either call me, and they could reach me through that website, or they could call Charisse Estimo, who is the Director of Admissions. Either of us would be happy to talk with them about the program.
Okay, and both phone numbers are on the website.
That's right.
Okay, so give the website once more.
It's antiochsb.edu.
Okay. So, Judy, thank you very much for coming on. I wish you all the best with this program and the launching of it with you at the helm here and being the person that pushes it up the hill. I'm sure it's going to be very successful.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Okay. And once more, I'll post those things up on my website, too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we are going to go to break, and then we'll be right back. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
We are talking about the benefits of being assertive in your own life. So what keeps you from standing up for yourself and letting others know what you need? Pick up the phone and give me a call. You can also listen to this program through live streaming on the internet by going to my website at thedrkimtaylorshow.com. And don't forget, this show is rebroadcast Thursday evenings at 10 p.m. and Sundays at noon. And if you couldn't call in and you would like to talk to me, here's a special chance to reach me this coming Sunday when I will also be taking your phone calls and answering your questions. So you can check out my website once more for that info about how to call me on that day. And again, that's at drkimtaylorshow.com. So let's now go to a call. Hi, this is Dr. Kim, and we're on the phone with Jane. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Dr. Kim. I was hoping to get some advice for how to cope with a housing situation or a roommate situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am renting a room in a home, and there's another person. There's the homeowner, and then I'm a tenant, and there's a second tenant. And this second tenant is very sort of disrespectful and messy. And the specific things, she doesn't do her dishes for days and days on end. We co-share a bathroom, and I know that I can't change anybody else, and we've talked to her about trying to be a little bit more tidy. And so at first I was washing her dishes, and then I became resentful of the fact that I'm doing her dishes. But if I don't, then we have the sink piled up with a mess. So what can I do for myself where I'm not constantly angry every time I come down to the kitchen and see this big mess?
Okay. Well, I think the first thing is that I think it's really good that you see that you can't change her. That trying to do that is really a waste of time. So the question really is, what are you going to do with the fact that you live with someone who's messy?
And then that's where I need some assistance.
Okay, but is this someone who is going to be there for a long time?
That I'm not certain about.
Okay, but what it comes down to is, how do you make yourself feel okay, so you don't get angry, you don't get resentful, and then it starts to ruin your day. I think the first thing I think the first thing that you need to do is to realize that this bothers you, it doesn't bother her. Right?
That's exactly it.
Okay.
And then it almost bothers me more that she's so nonchalant and it doesn't bother her at all.
Okay, but this is what you have to see, is that she is different than you. She's not like you. So she doesn't see things the same way that you see things. And the fact that you don't like things messy is your responsibility. You have to be accountable to that. And if you like things neat, you have to be willing to put in the time and the effort to change that and to make it neat, because it calms you, so that you're no longer doing it for her, which will take away some of the anger and therefore some of the resentment, but you're doing it for yourself.
That's a different way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it is the same thing that is going on. But when you change your perspective of it, you can change how you're going to feel about it. My husband,
I hadn't thought of it that way.
yeah, my husband used to fold the towels in the most awkward way, and then he'd put them in the cupboard. And every time I would open that, it would really bug me. But what I started to realize is every time I saw that, I could not get angry at him each time because it didn't bother him, and he was just trying to help. But if it bothered me, then I had to be the one to go in the cupboard, fold them the way that it made me happy, and be done with it.
Exactly, because that's sort of your standard, and I need to, if I want things to be to sort of my standard of cleanliness.
Then I'll own it and be responsible for it, because it will ruin your relationship with her if you hold on to this and are angry and therefore resentful.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay? So looks like you're going to be doing a little more cleaning.
That's all right.
Okay.
I already do my own, so a little bit more is not that bad.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
Well, thank you so much. You're
Okay.
welcome.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. Hi, this is Dr. Kim Taylor. We're on the phone with Carol.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. I'm calling because I'm having a lot of problems with my mother-in-law. Actually, both my husband and I are. It doesn't matter what we do for her, it's never enough. And she calls constantly, stops by constantly, and she complains to other people that she lies and says that we don't, invite her to holidays or anything, and it couldn't be further from the truth, but it's really, really taking its toll on me. I just haven't dealt with anybody like her. And then recently, she was diagnosed as a borderline personality, and I really don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I just wanted to know if you could give me any advice.
Well, I think the first thing for you to know is that she is showing the telltale signs of someone who has that particular disorder, is that what she will feel is that no matter what you give, it will never, ever be enough. She will always feel empty. She will always want more. She probably goes through a lot of people and she drains them. She kind of sucks them dry.
That's what she's done.
Yes. Okay. You still see her, though. You still invite her over, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's really difficult, though.
Okay. But the hardest part, I'm sure, is that after you're done doing that, she has something bad to say about it.
Yeah, and then she's just difficult to be around. She just instigates arguments, and arguments if I have guests here. She's just very, very unpleasant.
Okay. All right. So I think that you need to have a plan, because people like this have very thick skins and they're tough. So you have to have a plan. You have to be willing to just agree what you're going to do with her, how you're going to include her, and let yourself accept that that's enough. No matter what she says, no matter how much she complains, no matter what she says to her neighbors or her friends, it has to be enough for you, because for her, it will never be.
She tends to wear out all her friends and everything because she's so needy. And so nobody stays around, and then she calls us, and it's nonstop. It's absolutely nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Well, you and or your husband maybe both need to sit with her and let her know that you love her, that you do want to include her, but there are some things that is going to work for, and that there are some things that she's not going to be able to come to. You can actually tell her that you're hurt, that you feel like she is talking behind your back or telling her friends and saying things that are very hurtful to you. But what I will tell you is that will probably not work.
Really?
Really. Because her needs are so great that she can't see other people's needs.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
It's as if she doesn't care about anybody else's needs.
Well, this is where she has the problem. This is just the block that she has, that her needs are so great that they really just block out her ability to have any kind of empathy or be able to see it from someone else's perspective. So what I would tell you,
really difficult.
yes, it is very hard to deal with people like this. The best thing you can do is to protect yourself. And what I mean by that, again, just do what you can, let it be enough, and know the rest of it is just her issue. You can't solve it for her.
Boy, it's really been a cross to bear. But that's really good advice and really good input. I'll talk with my husband about that and share that with him.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you very much for your help.
Okay, thanks for the call. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kimberly Taylor. You can reach her by calling 564-1290 or toll free at 866-564-1290.
So let's go to an email here that I have. It's Dear Dr. Kim, I have been married for 15 years to a man whom I love deeply. 4 years ago, he entered treatment for alcohol abuse and compulsive gambling. We both attended and participated in 12-step meetings. I still attend Al-Anon meetings sometimes, but my husband rarely goes to his meetings. Here's the problem. Although he has not given me any reason to suspect he has relapsed, I see things in his attitude and behavior that scare me, and I think he's on his way to a relapse. How do I approach this conversation without being codependent? This is from Bella. So, Bella, first, let me commend you for seeking your own recovery by going to Al-Anon. These kinds of problems with addiction is certainly a family disease, so all parties are affected by this and therefore need help. Right now, it sounds like your concerns about your husband are real. That it is not a codependent response at all, but rather it's probably a call to action on your part to address what it is that you know and what you're feeling. Because if things are going on that you know in the past have been a reliable predictor for this acting out, whether it's just thoughts or whether it's some of the actions, that you really can't remain silent. So don't play the part of trying to reinforce this kind of silence between you. You really have to step up now and tell your truth. What a codependent is one who lets a person's behavior affect them and who is obsessed with trying to then control that person's behavior. So what is true is that people acting in their codependency have difficulty experiencing appropriate levels of self-esteem, setting healthy boundaries, and owning what their own reality is. You need to express your concern to your husband with the full knowledge that you cannot change or that you also cannot control him. And you have to do this without blaming him for how you are feeling. This would be a really healthy act of self-esteem on your part. So trust yourself and the hard work that you have done, and you really need to tell the truth and tell him what you're feeling, because if you don't do that, then your relationship will probably fall apart around you. We're going to go on now to a call, and let's see, we're going to be talking, I believe, to Laura. This is Kim Taylor, and we're on the phone now with Laura. Hi, Laura. How are you today?
I'm very good, Dr. Taylor. Thank you for taking my call. I have a problem that is not really a very serious problem, but it is a little bit baffling. I have a 4-year-old grandson who has just discovered the power of the word no, and everyone in the family is falling all over themselves trying to make him stop doing this because it is very unpleasant and difficult. But he has just put his feet down and resisting them quite severely. And because I have him a couple of times a week for a few hours each time, I'd like to figure out how to slip right on by this and not make any fuss at all when he's with me about it. The one thing I have discovered is that if I stop saying, do you want such and such, I don't get that automatic response. And instead I'm saying, lunch is ready, and he says no. And I just say, okay, and I put the lunch in the refrigerator. And the interesting thing is that in about half hour, he's saying, Grandma, I'm really hungry. So I'm just taking the food out of the refrigerator and giving it to him and not making any to-do about it at all. But the problem arises when I need to go with him somewhere, when we need to leave now. In the car to go, I don't know, any place you can think of, it doesn't matter. Then I can't think how to start that off so that he's not going to resist me.
Okay.
Can you help me with that at all?
Well, sure, because I'm sure, as you know, you've raised kids, but maybe just to kind of go back for a moment and to recall that it is a child's nature to push. That the kids really need to test their parents or grandparents or whoever is going to caretake them. And they are really trying to figure out with their no about what really means no. And they are curious about how you're going to react to them when they do disobey. So my guess is that much of this is just a limit testing, which kids do. Because part of it is being playful, but part of it is also experimenting with how far can I go with this?
Yes, I get that feeling with him.
Okay. So I think part of what you've done by, if he says no, that you take his lunch away until he does want it. But that isn't going to help you in some of these other places. It might be helpful for him at this age to give advance warning and let him know that in 2 minutes or 5 minutes that he can play for 2 more minutes and then it's time to go for lunch. So you aren't asking him if he wants it. You're just telling him what is going to happen.
So give him a little warning ahead of time.
Yes, and also what may be in play here is he's having a little bit of difficulty making that quick transition, which you can make, but he goes from one place of playing and he doesn't see that maybe he can come back to the plane, and he thinks that if he lets it go, it's going to be gone for him if he moves into something new. So give him warnings.
Okay.
Like a heads up. And if he complains about that, say, okay, you can have 2 more minutes here, and then that's it, and we're done. And
then be very strict about leaving at that time, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Part of what he's going through is that he needs to test limits and know where the boundaries are. He's going to test the boundaries. You have to make sure that when you are setting the rules that you're willing to also enforce those rules. So pick your battles. Okay. And and kids need to, at 4 years old, to exert some independence. So we don't want to crush that by being a person who tries to manage their every minute. Help them to manage their time well too, by giving them, a grace period here where they can adjust, they can adapt, or set timers or things like that are more playful.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Okay.
I'm going to work with that. It's just so much that I don't want to have this kind of confrontation with him over such silly things as this, and this will help me. And that's a really good idea, to give him a warning and give him a time to get ready to do whatever it is that I really need to have him do. Because the other part has come quite easy.
Now he is not showing defiance. It sounds like he's just kind of exerting himself.
Yeah, he's really a good little guy. He's not defiant at all. He's not. The no is not loud and deliberate or aggressive at all. It's just no. Pure and simple. No, I know.
Okay. So he wants some power, some independence, some way to express himself, and he can have some of that, just not all of that, because you don't want the 4-year-old to be ruling your household or ruling the time that you have with him. And when you start to understand that this is a natural process for him to push, yours is to teach, it puts it into perspective about how sometimes no has to mean no and right then, especially if it's something that he's in danger about. But you can work with him on the rest of it to help transition him, to move him through, and to have him have a sense of self and independence within this.
Yes, I can do all of that now that you've given me some clues on it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good luck with that. All right. Bye-bye. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. I have a book that I would actually like to recommend to you, and if you're having any difficulty being assertive, this is a book for you. It's called The Gifts of Imperfection, and it's by Brené Brown. In order for us to be able to speak up for ourselves and to be assertive, we have to feel good about ourselves and have a positive self-esteem. So one of the first steps in order to be able to do this is to accept all of who you are. And this includes your imperfections. That's why this is such a great book. Because it's often our imperfections, or what we perceive to be our imperfections, that hold us back. This author states that trying to be perfect is self-destructive, and it fuels the thoughts that if I look perfect, if I live perfectly, if I do everything perfectly, then and only then can I ask for what I want. And it's worrying about disappointing others, and it's the whole task of trying to be perfect that keeps us from standing up for ourselves and taking care of ourselves in an assertive way. So this book is a great read. It's there to help you to come to terms with just living a more honest life and to really be able to work through any feelings that you have about not having the right or being afraid to stand up for yourself. So we'll be right back after the break. I'm Kimberly Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290. I want to thank Judy Bruton from Antioch for being here and sharing with us this opportunity for women and men to learn the skills and tools that they need in order to become successful leaders in business, politics, wherever they choose. So I really want to thank her for being here. As we come to the end of our program today, I want to remind you all to take good care of yourself and to remember that in order to be able to be assertive, there are a few skills that you need to be able to master. First, own your yes and own your no. Say yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no. The ticket into being able to be yourself instead of a version everyone else needs you to be is to stand up for yourself and own your no. Practice in the mirror saying no. It actually works. Next, ask for what you want. Use I statements. I need, I want, I do not like that. And third, act as if you are already the healthiest person you can be. Don't wait until you feel better about yourself to do this. The act of standing up for yourself in an assertive way will increase your self-esteem. And then you have to know that learning to be assertive takes time and practice, but the more you do it, the better you will feel and the more confident you will become in expressing your needs and wants. So as we end, I would love to hear from you, and I welcome your comments about the show, along with whatever questions that you have. You can email me at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com. You can also listen to the program through live streaming by going to the internet and going to my website at drkimtaylorshow.com. Don't forget, these shows can be heard in a rebroadcast Thursdays at 10 p.m. and Sundays at noon. And if you want to listen to any of the past shows, you can find them on my website. And now you can also go to iTunes Podcasts and check them out there. I want to tell you that if you couldn't call in and didn't have time today, that there is a special chance to reach me this coming Sunday, when I will also be taking your phone calls and answering your questions. Once more, check out my website on how you can contact me on that day. As we close, I want to give a shout out to Christopher. He is a listener in Australia, and thanks for the fact that you have to get up so early to hear this program. So join me again next Thursday afternoon at 2. In fact, let's make a date for every Thursday. Write it in your calendar. Tell your friends to write it in theirs. And while you're at it, make some notes about what you would like to talk about. And give me a call next Thursday. I'm here, so you be here too. Meanwhile, have a great week, and let me leave you with this. Nobody else has to change in order for you to get better. And when you make the change, everyone else will have to change in reaction to your change.